An assertion from Stephen Pedling is that it is possible that the universe we see is simply a piece of a significantly greater multiverse. In this greater universe, there could be many copies of us living in various universes. The James Webb Telescope has now found the first certifiable verification for the mirror universe. Vast frameworks that appear to be more prepared than the universe truly come from a counterpresence where the genuine powers resemble our own. What's happening as of now might it at any point be said that we are currently entering dark components of the multiverse. Strangely, additionally, what might we at some point find there? The reactions to this question are extending us to the edges of normality, testing our perception, and maybe catapulting us into a completely new reality. This could really spell nearly guaranteed destruction for science as far as we may be concerned. Everything is absolutely unique. Scientists have finally tracked down the real legitimization for the unfathomable universes. Nevertheless, could we be heading close to the beginning of the story? It was the pre-summer of 2022 when NASA readily set the initial pictures liberated from the new James Webb Space Telescope for laypeople. The significant picture showed a couple of superb and wonderful characteristics of light and stars. Despite this, subject matter experts expeditiously saw an astonishing pack of particularly old vast frameworks. More young vast frameworks ought to be visible magnificently in the front-facing region. The more prepared ones appear to be orange to bronzed, and their light is diffused to darkened. With the naked eye, we can see close to nothing here, separated from a couple of exquisite assortment influences. Be that as it may, the Webb telescope can distinguish even the humblest spot of light thoroughly. It may be hard to acknowledge, yet James Webb can tell from these clouded spots of light when the light was created, where it came from, which stars released it, how enormous the framework was, and which parts were dominantly in it. Strangely, experts by and by have complete assessments of very old vast frameworks in their grip. The development of the new telescope is truly clever, and by virtue of infrared development, James Webb can record significantly preferred light follows over Hubble and, thus, look significantly further. The hour of not permanently set up by the red shift of light, in case that light goes through space from here onward, endlessly, apparently for eternity. The reach shifts from light yellow to white to red and orange. The assessments of the age of these enormous frameworks came as a shock. One of the essential insisted frameworks in this image showed a red shift of Z identical to 13, and that suggests it is 13.5 billion years old. Why do we see the previous? We ought to come to the primary secret of this story. Right when we examine space, we by and large see the previous. It's crazy yet totally substantial. Indeed, even the light from the nearest star, Alpha Centauri, requires 4.3 light-years to get in touch with us. Expecting we look at the star on Earth through a telescope, we see the light that causes a commotion in and out of town or the discernment reflection of the telescope. Accordingly, we see light that has gone 4.3 years to reach us, and that is where we see the spot of light. Above, genuinely, the star Alpha Centauri, or maybe the twofold star structure has proactively journeyed further and is arranged at something completely different in the universe. If James Webb gets weak beats of light that have been going for 13.5 billion years, we see the infinite framework there as it was a mind-blowing 13.5 billion years ago. The significance picture is subsequently not simply a view into the profundities of the universe but also into the past. This can be an obstacle since we will continuously, reasonably, not be able to see the universe on Earth as it is by and by. We would need to go out into space to see stars there as they are by and by. The potential gain of this is that we can sort out what happened in the past of the universe, basically by seeing the light. On the remote possibility that the colossal explosion really happened 13.8 billion years ago, we should essentially have the choice to see the APO from which the fundamental light was made as the chief stars. Besides, here comes the issue. The fundamental stars are not inclined to have existed until somewhere near 500 million years after the colossal explosion. In any case, the framework glass C13 recently existed 300 million years after the colossal explosion, and this is a universe, not a singular star. As shown by James Webb's assessment data, glass C13 is an incredibly developed, momentous vast framework. This framework has taken some place around 1 to 5 billion years to show up at the size and brilliance that we see today. However, that can't be the situation, since that would suggest that this universe recently existed before the colossal explosion. Tremendous blast, starburst, or would we say we are completely looking in a mirror? As you can imagine, the scientists are presently genuinely prepared to battle how such a world could be made. Feeling of what's more, Glass C13 isn't the only one. Shortly afterward, the presence of another framework with a significantly higher Z-value was affirmed. Massey's grandiose framework previously existed 200 million years after the huge explosion and is in much the same way twofold outlined as a world as Glass C13. Another found even had a Z-value of north of 20. F200dB Z045 is an outstandingly redshifted universe up in comparison with an expected redshift of about Z ascending to 20.4. This connects with a period around 168 million years after the colossal explosion. If the assessments can be affirmed, F200dB Z045 would be one of the earliest and most distant acknowledged frameworks ever seen. These three are just a handful of the numerous framework contenders that are at this point awaiting certification. These revelations are called candidates since they should be logically relegated as universes once other independent assessment bunches have asserted the assessments. The essential universes grew exceptionally rather than we thought. John Mather, the task boss and significant father of the James Webb Telescope, makes certain in a meeting that these revelations do not insist that there was no gigantic explosion. Instead, they show that stars and universes were outlined a great deal faster than as of late anticipated. Classical physics shows the man right, while current characters at absolutely no point in the future have faith in the gigantic blast. Various analysts are convinced that these vast frameworks are the death of our old material science. So who is doing well? We ought to examine what explanations classical material science has created over the latest 2 years for these unfathomable universes. A researcher from Canada presented a survey, as shown by which the universe could be significantly more settled. He puts the gigantic explosion at a time of 26.7 billion years ago. Regardless, it could similarly be 40 billion years or more. The assessments relied upon modified Newtonian physical science and the speculation of light depletion by Swiss researcher Fritz Zwicky. Another explanation is that there were starbursts in the energetic universe, or, as such, real impacts of star birth, where a previously thick locale of the universe conveys an unusually gigantic number of stars in a very concise time span. However, this explanation should be applied fairly considering the reality that it's not feasible with the enormous degree plans of the universe. The English expert Roger Penrose proposed the doused universe back in 2015, according to which our universe emerged directly from an outsider universe, and a couple of things or fundamental plans of the old universe could have been saved. This could now fit on the grounds that Penrose's idea would be able to certainly figure out why there are frameworks that were incredibly old very early. These large number of theories have a common weakness. They can to some degree get a handle on the new disclosures, yet not absolutely the most late significance picture. Another shock is that about a year after the essential picture was taken, the Webb telescope took another significance picture. The analysts looked eagerly into a somewhat novel corner of the universe. Could another picture be revealed there? No, unfortunately not. Then again, perhaps fortunately, the resulting picture affirmed the disclosures of the essential significance picture. The new picture also showed segments of universes that are old to the point that they shouldn't exist as shown by the past standards of material science. What's more, this picture similarly revealed a previously unidentified development that lies hidden behind the Pandora world pack, and in regards to its size and angles, couldn't actually have existed in energetic space. The modern physicists are bit by bit running out of explanations, and the stage is being cleared for absolutely new theories in science. We have the asserted truth that our actual study of the tiniest particles isn't yet practical with the actual study of the huge idiosyncrasies in the universe. Quantum physics and cosmology can't be portrayed using standardized recipes. The fundamental speculation that comes close is string theory, which drives clearly to the multiverse, which customary physicists are at this point engaging through. Yet it's at this point clear to numerous that here we have the verification for the multiverse and for a mirror universe. Assuming the universe of the smallest particles is only feasible with tremendous parts like stars and frameworks, expecting we acknowledge a more prominent number of angles than the 4 known parts of reality, then there ought to be various universes that we have not yet had the choice to see or explore. A couple of researchers are of the appraisal that not having the choice to see is truly false using any and all means. They say that we experience these angles any place science encounters unfeasible issues, like now with the inconceivable frameworks. We ought to look at the evidence that we are not looking at the energetic universe after the colossal blast, but rather,